Welcome to the SPL Rundown, your weekly look at the SPL. This week, we have two special guests, Biggy, the coach of Radiance, and Cardiac, the coach of Eunited, join us to break down all of last week's games, along with LeremyWermy. Be sure to stick around for my interview with Sheento, the Midlaner for Sanguine, a little bit later on. But let's start with week 13 of the SPL action, starting with Ghost versus SSG. And I think this is the first game we've really seen Twig sort of flex his god pull. I don't think I've really seen him play the Ra or Baron any other time. What are your guys' thoughts on this set?
I can start. I think Ghost seemed to be hitting really good form. I think that for me, this set was like, it felt like SSG maybe dropped out of a bit of form, but Ghost, just in general this week, found some form. I feel like Sam was playing really well again. Mike seemed to be playing a bit better, kind of Fino as well. Like the whole team kind of individual performances are improved. And
Sure.
as far as Twig's picks, I think he's probably just maybe experimenting a bit, because I feel like he is someone that may get focused out a bit when it comes to finals times or a world. So he's probably just trying to mess around a bit and just kind of see what fits and see what he wants to play, kind of experimenting. I also felt like SSG were maybe experimenting a bit this week. They didn't seem to kind of like the drafting this week seemed a lot different to previous weeks, but that's just how it felt from my point of view.
Sure. Well, I do want to say that basically the team comp stayed the same from game 1 to game 2. I mean, on the Ghost side, the only thing they changed was what Twig was playing between a Ra and a Baron. And on SSG's side, they only changed, I believe, the Solo and the Hunter that Nika and Vote played. So it seemed like both teams had their game plan and they were going to stick to it for this set.
Yeah, just kind of unfortunate too, because I think Dardis is a really sick Morrigan, but like just looking at the comps period, like the transformations like don't do a whole lot for you unless you're literally in like the niche situation where like the ultimate is going to help you out a lot. Like in certain cases you'll be like, oh, I can turn into this character every single time and get off like a really good like ult or whatever you need to do.
Sure.
But I mean, honestly, it just doesn't seem like there was any really solid choice every single time. Like, you can turn into the Nike to stay alive, which of course is great. Rom for the snipes, but just the fact that if you're turning into your own teammates when you're getting behind, it's like not the best situation to be in as a Morrigan.
Of course.
So you're kind of just forced into turning into the other team, which also was not the best. But you know, I liked the thought process, but the Nike, you know, I'm not sure how I feel about it coming back.
To me, it sort of seemed... Go ahead.
I was going to say, I'm not too sure like what he was transforming into most of the time.
Yeah.
I think Susanna is a pretty decent transformation as well. But yeah, I think they were just drafting like the Nike game 1, and they took the Wukong in game 2 to kind of just give survivability in that ult if he needs it.
Yeah, I think he did turn into Susanna a lot and Wukong mainly, from what I remember.
Sure. Yeah. I know one thing that was really unexpected for me was the Baron Samdi mid. I remember I was watching Hazer stream when they locked it in, and I'm like, this for sure has Mike all over it, and then they go and pick up the Fafnir. What are you guys' thoughts on Baron Samdi in the mid lane? Is this maybe a viable place for Baron? It's been a long time since we've seen him in the SPL.
Honestly, yeah. I mean, it's actually so funny because literally that same day, Dukesloth made a video about how Baron's win rates are rising, and coming from an insider perspective, they have buffed Baron so much over the past couple of months. And I don't remember exactly what the most recent change was, but it was on his 1 that he received a scaling buff, and so that helped him be able to clear a lot better. And so actually the utility coming off of the passive too just is so useful into comps focused around auto attack characters. So like, that's literally Cherio's whole repertoire really has been like the Erlang and the Kali and things of that nature. So it certainly does work into that specific like character player matchup. And of course the stay is nice too.
Yeah.
You go.
All right. I heard them say like they also just think like Baron's brew is like really strong, which I don't know if that's... I mean, it's super important, but it does like help in lane for a lot of characters. And yeah, I mean, it is just like an off meta thing, kind of like Twig's deal and playing the Anubis right now too.
Right.
But they just like know how to work around it. And I feel like if Twig's like getting his damage off or getting his utility off, that he trusts his team to kind of finish the fights in a way.
I got you. Biggy?
I don't think he's like gonna be meta. Like Cardiac said, I think it's just a bit of a niche pick. But I feel like the way SSG was drafting, Baron's problem is always going to be kind of early game, late clear, pressure, kind of being abused.
Yeah, that's true.
But he is good. He is good into Morrigan and lane. He can kind of threaten the Morrigan. And the way SSG draft compared to Ghost had a really kind of aggressive draft around the Baron, and so he kind of can just get through the early game for free. I think he's there against like Jingwei, Sobek, Morrigan, and Akali jungle is kind of like the freest early game you're gonna get.
Right.
So it made sense in the draft, and I think it was the right time to kind of experiment with it if that's what they were doing.
Sure. All right. Any final thoughts on the set before we move on? Is there anything I missed talking about?
I think, was this the set that kind of clinched Ghost as first seed?
It might be. This might have been the set that clinched Ghost as first seed going into Phase 2 playoffs, right?
Yeah.
Is that something that's big for you guys? Like getting first seed or not? Or how do you guys feel about that?
I mean, it helps. I don't think it really matters. I think we were 5th seed last split and almost won, so... But it definitely helps. I think being able to choose your... do you get to choose your opponent again? I'm not sure.
I think so.
Yeah, I believe so.
It is kind of is a strong opportunity, like option, especially for Ghost. They can kind of pick a team that their playstyle is good against because they have a very specific playstyle. So it definitely helps, but I don't think it's like huge, you know.
Sure. Let's move on to the next set of the week, which was Sanguine versus PK. And I know I was hoping that this would be a PK win, especially after PK was able to take games off of, or sets off of Ghost and SSG in previous weeks. But looks like Sanguine is still not as, still strong, still a strong team in the league, and was able to take this, I guess we call it a reverse sweep, winning games 2 and 3. What are your initial thoughts on this? The first game, I think there was a lot of fighting and brawling going on, and Sanguine really looked to slow it down in games 2 and 3. Is that sort of how you guys see it as well?
Yeah, I think Sanguine like a slow-paced game. For me, this set was a lot about Sheento. I feel like he's been performing really well lately on Hebo, and they also gave him Persephone, which for me is not really a god you want to play against if you play against Sanguine, just because... Sure. The amount of farm that they funnel into Sheento on those kind of picks makes it impossible, to play around the mid lane. So, and they are a team that also wants to fight and dive your mid laner. So, I just maybe think for me, I feel like they banned too many ADCs. I think one game they banned Jingwei, which it doesn't really make sense to me. But I think it's maybe a drafting thing for me a little bit, and then as well as that, also PK probably a bit out of form still. I feel like that break they took is was the worst possible for them, and they maybe still finding their way back into form.
Sure.
Yeah, I think it was the game 1. I was kind of curious watching it as well. Like they banned away the Jingwei Rama and then first pick time, which I guess they just were trying to target out Netrioid going in. But yeah, I thought that was a little strange as well. And then yeah, they obviously were valuing Hebo very highly, which I think every team kind of has to do.
Yeah.
First PK, and it forced Paul to play the set, which is not a bad character for him, but that they triple ban Paul and then take away the Hebo, it does force him onto something else.
Yeah, I think we did see the set and Cthulhu together on PK a couple of times. In this set, and that seems to be sort of something that they are okay with. It didn't really work out for them, unfortunately, though, in this one. What did Sanguine maybe do to fight into the set mid? Because I think it was played all 3 games.
Set is such a momentum character, so if he doesn't get off the ground, he just kind of eats it for the rest of the game. And so just Sanguine's whole playstyle is to really hold back, funnel the farm into Sheento, like Biggy said, and just kind of hold on until it's a little more late game where they can really start to pop off in their team fights. So kind of just not fighting as much. This if you're leaving the set kind of alone and or just picking on him constantly, it makes it a lot easier. So I mean, doing things like that is going to really be what kind of slowed it down. But I mean, there were a whole lot of things that were kind of confusing about this draft from PK. care so much if they like slam the set mid every single time, but picking Bacchus 3 times in a row, I have feelings about that. I mean, he's getting a buff very soon, but even then, I don't like this pick for Neilma, really.
Sure. What do you guys think about the Bacchus? Is it something that we can see more of, or maybe not as good as people want it to be?
I think Bacchus can be okay in certain situations. I think they were trying to. Neil wasn't picking top 3, and then they were bottom 2ing him. It's like kind of characters he's been playing recently. Neil's always kind of been Bacchus guy though.
That's true.
But yeah, kind of sticking to it all 3 games might be a little stubborn from them, or whatever. They might have been. It just might have been something that was working in scrim, so they figured just keep trying it.
Sure.
But I don't hate it like that badly, but there probably were better picks at the time. Just going back on the set mid though, I think kind of Panatom's picks were pretty good into it as well. Like the Circuit set kind of really struggles if he's getting bullied by Circuit early to mid game. And I think that they did like get his beads like first or second wave or something like that as well. And then Paul's like plays typically very safe if he doesn't have actives up.
Yep.
So they were kind of just able to like free farm for that little while, and it didn't let the set start off the game very strongly.
Sure.
And I think the Hebo jungle is actually really strong into the set as well. So yeah, they obviously had picks going into it for that.
Yeah. Biggie, you were about to say something?
Yeah, I do think they're just maybe forcing the set mid a little bit. I feel like it was something that came from when we played it. I think we played it like ADC against them, and then they banned it, and then it felt like it was something that they then started to kind of really latch onto. But the way they draft, if you're forcing a pick like that mid, you kind of have to play a magical solo laner, and then I feel like they're just defaulting to Cthulhu because like maybe Scary doesn't have any other guardians that he wants to play. So I just feel like maybe they're forcing it a bit too much. Maybe if I was them, I'd be like just picking Heber for Paul. Like that's his god, right?
Yeah. I mean, I remember I was able to talk to Sheento a little bit earlier, and he thinks that Hebo is just one of the most OP gods, not just like a meta god, but just he's meta and he's very good. So, you know, maybe that's a thing to ban out or try to pick up if you're playing against Sanguine.
Yeah, I mean, I just straight up didn't understand the Heimdall first pick. Like, sure, he's good, but like, you're literally the Hebo guy. Like, give him the Hebo, or at least give it over to Cubo. Like, they both have a solid Hebo. I don't know what the Heimdall does for them, really.
Yeah, I think if I was PK and I was going into a set against Sanguine, I wouldn't be worried about Zap having the upper hand in the hunter picks. I'd be more worried about let's ban 2 mages and pick the Hebo away, right? Like, then you put Sheento, because Sheento does kind of fall off hard in his god pool if you kind of deny him a few things specifically. So I feel like that would have maybe been the better angle rather than focusing so much on Netroid.
Sure. All right, then moving on to the next set of the week, which was Eunited versus Obey. This is, I think, lovingly called the Battle of the Bottom, but really just seems like Obey is at the bottom because you guys, I think, played it really well. I think this was one of the best sets of the week, if I recall correctly. I was kept on the edge of my seat most of the time, especially with Obey trying their new sort of strategy out here, which is do early objectives as much as possible.
Never fight you at all.
Yeah, never fight you at all. Let's just do all the objectives. I think they got a 15-minute fire giant, which is kind of crazy in the SPL. So,
and they lost 2 after that, right?
Yeah, and they lost 2 after that. Well, what are your guys' strategies going into Obey? Did you expect them to focus so much on getting objectives early on in the game?
Like we knew Sino was gonna. I mean, yeah, kind of. We didn't expect obviously the Isis or the Vulcan pick or anything like that, but we figured they were gonna be like a auto attack jungler with maybe a double hunter or like a bursting mage, and then just try and. That's kind of what they had been doing in the previous weeks too. But they really like doubled down on it with the Amma pick as well. And like Isis could Kulkin, like they were just trying to get those objectives. And it kind of did catch us off guard game 1, like as you saw. Like we didn't have a great early game, so it kind of helped them out a lot. But We kind of were playing pretty passive, which is what I wanted to adjust going forward. And we kind of just like let them have everything, and like we basically played into their hands for the first game.
Mhm.
Even though we were winning a lot of the team fights, like mid to late game, we were winning almost every team fight. But yeah, we just had a rough start.
Sure. Well, and then Scream gets Bastet in game 2, and I think maybe
Yeah.
the set was over as soon as that pick came through.
Yeah, they also had they bottom 2 Kukulkan Odin, so
Yeah.
I mean, I was like, all right, we'll take that.
Some interesting picks, to say the least.
Yeah, yeah. So,
I mean, who knows what's going on in their brain half the time when they pick things like that. I mean, weird picks can work. We've seen it before. I mean, Scream is literally the epitome of that. And but I just don't get the Odin. I straight up like, what does he do?
Bobby played the Odin actually very well. I seem to recall there being some pretty clutch cages to, block off walls in the jungle and things like that.
yeah, he didn't play it poorly.
He didn't play it poorly, yeah, definitely.
I think we were also like, we were kind of committing a lot on him early, and like Odin does have slow immunity when he drops his ult, so like he was just able to get out of Cupid ult like that. And yeah, he did have some clutch cages and things like that, but late game he just is kind of a super easy target from a Sovik pluck.
Yep.
And once you eliminate the Odin from the fight, they really didn't have too much else.
Sure. But you're kind of sitting there quietly.
Looking at their comp, though, I was gonna say, like, how do you peel for the Cuckoo ever?
Yeah, that Cuckoo. Yeah, I mean he was getting dove pretty hard. I'm not sure really why those 2 picks came out. All I can think of is it was just straight up for objectives, and they weren't trying to fight at all, which is what they did game 1. We took away the Isis, we took away the Poseidon, and they're like, I guess it's Kukulkan.
Sure.
And then I guess, I mean, Odin has like a stim on his 3 as well, but he also has like the cage that can like block you out from objectives, I guess. I don't know what their super game plan was for that, but in a straight up team fight, they definitely just can't win against our picks.
Yeah.
Caught on Biggy a little bit. Agree with all that, Biggy?
Yeah, I agree. I think I don't fault obey, because I think the toughest thing to do when you're losing is to stay consistent and like consistent in your picks. And I think maybe they've like the support pick seemed a bit strange at times. I think he played audio as well, maybe.
Yeah, in game 3.
Yeah, in game 3 he did.
But I think it's kind of it's hard to say, because I imagine that their kind of strategy, at least when we played them as well, we felt like if we just banned Amy, it was like easy. They're not going to have this Amy just rotating with a sprint and then doing objective and sprinting away from us, like, or like, please just fight us, like. So I think maybe what they're onto is good. I think they just have to kind of get it right consistently, because what they did against us, I felt like, even though I think eventually we probably could have won that game, if they just keep sticking to that style and kind of perfect it, it is honestly scary to play against, because it's kind of, if you're slow at all or you're lazy, like you have one bit of laziness, you just lose the game, right? But it's just a matter of kind of sticking to it and becoming really, really good at it. Otherwise, teams, kind of higher skilled teams, are gonna just beat you, because when it comes, like Cardiac said, when it comes to team fighting, your draft's just not built for that, so you're just not going to beat stronger teams.
Sure. All right, let's move on to the next set of the week, which is Radiance versus Renegades. I know it was a 2-0 for Radiance, but I think we can all say that Renegades did look very good in this game. And Variety is sort of really meshing well with this team. How do you guys feel, sort of coming back and getting the wins? And I think we learned that you really can't be given Aurora Herc. Is this just Renegades maybe experimenting a little bit, trying to see what they can get away with?
I don't think Renegades are experimenting. They're not really in a position to experiment. I think they have to win this week to make playoffs. Or I think it was, for me, it was kind of predictable. I knew they would top 2 Guan, just because it was a pick that we play a lot, and it was a pick that I think their most winning pick they had in solo. And they took Persephone. Like, we weren't sure. Like, I think Ven's really hard to read. He'll play a different god literally every game. So, I think it was just a matter of our side lanes played really sick. I think Benji and Cyclone both had really good sets. I think Kenna had a bit of a rough set, especially game 2, because his pick was just not good for late game, and we fell kind of behind. So it's like a tougher Willix game, but I think we're just kind of coming into some good form before playoffs. I feel like the feeling for me in scrims and games is a lot different. I feel like we're a lot more on the same page. We kind of know what each other's doing. We're a lot more aggressive. We're kind of dictating the game a bit more. Whereas I feel like previously we were just letting games go past us and just reacting. So I think we are playing better, and they just maybe struggling a little bit.
Sure. Cardiac, Lermy, any thoughts about this set?
I
Yeah.
mean,
You can go, Lermy.
okay, I was just gonna say kind of a little bit of a weak set from both junglers, and I think that's kind of been the consistent problem with Renegades is that they depend so much on Lasper having a really, really sick game to be able to get them through that mid all the way to the late game. And like he did have a really sick mid game, I feel like on the Hun bots, and then it just kind of fell off.
Right.
Which is honestly kind of surprising. But yeah, I mean, in general, I feel like it just really sucks because they have these moments of brilliance, but their consistency has like slowly been getting better. But like even still, like they still have very often on games where like one game they'll play super sick and the next game they just kind of fall over and take it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, first of all, Biggie, thanks for taking a game off Renegades. It really helped us out.
Yeah, you're welcome.
No, but I think like you said, Benji, at least for me in game 1, was just running that game so hard. Like it was. I mean, he did get a couple like buff steals, which is always kind of like 50-50, but those like solo invades, or he just takes Squan's blue. It's just like really huge for the lane. And then like I guess he had disco passive too, which helped him out a ton. But yeah, I thought Salt played really well game 1, and then Cyclone game 2 just absolutely carried that game as well. Like I think like you guys had a idea in mind with the Wheelix, and it just didn't work out, which is just like a product of a Wheelix. I feel like sometimes she just cannot get into the game at all, and like there's a lot of shit that like will shut her down. But Cyclone in those like fights was absolutely carrying. Like him and Aurora, like had a really strong game.
He straight up like did not miss once. I genuinely don't think.
I think we played full Fizz, and I think for me, if they're not after, then that game's a lot easier. I feel like that was a really smart pick by them, and I kind of knew he might play after, but we wanted to bounce differently, so we kind of just took that risk, and obviously had the idea of not going 40 minutes, ideally like 25 minutes, 30 minutes, but that's kind of just that's kind of just how it goes, and I think it probably happens a lot this year in jungle. I feel like where a lot of the jungle picks kind of, if you draft like that, you kind of just feel like you're doing nothing. Like I remember Kenneth saying like, well, what do I do? I can't dive, I can't do anything, and Cyclone just literally stand next to me and I'll win the game. Like so that's kind of what happened, just keep Cyclone alive basically, and we won.
Yeah, it's really hard for a Wheelix to like if like especially with the Afro, but like if characters like all have beads or are starting to buy Magi's or like playing a Wheelix, like what are you supposed to do? Like you kind of have to like pre-ult and then just kind of like blink in and hopefully you one-shot somebody. Like it's really hard to play that character sometimes.
Sure. This week, I had the pleasure of sitting down with the Midlaner for Sanguine Esports, Sheento, to talk about Phase 2, Phase 1, and look forward to Worlds a little bit as well. Please check it out. Hey everyone, I'm here with Sheento, the Midlaner for Sanguine, here to talk about Phase 1, Phase 2, Phase 1, and maybe look towards Worlds, which is coming up shortly. So starting off with Phase 2, you guys have done a lot of winning this phase, and even in Phase 1 as well. How are you guys feeling, beating a lot of the teams in this league? Sort of being the new team to come in.
Yeah, we feel pretty confident, to be honest. In the first phase, we ended up first place, so that's really good for us because the first year being the SPL and be the number 1 seed in the first phase is really good. Give you a lot of confidence to us. And in this second phase, we're confident too. We are like working in a scrim more. We're double blocking a scrim like every day.
Yeah.
We're preparing for playoff and Worlds for sure.
Sure. Now, I said that you've had a lot of winning this phase, but it seems like the two teams that you've had trouble with are Ghost and SSG. What is it
Yeah.
about those two teams that specifically is giving you guys a lot of trouble? Because it seems against any other team in the league, you guys are going to take the win most of the time.
Yeah, I think with Ghost, what happened is Ghost is so aggressive team in the early game.
Yeah,
That's a issue for us. If they play aggressive, they play aggro in early. That's a big issue for us. And yeah, I think the Ghost snowball a lot for that early game, and I think that was we get trouble all over versus Ghost. And versus Space Station, I think Space Station know how to play versus us, know how to team fight, know how to do what to do, and be aggressive too sometimes. So yeah, we get some troubles with
sure.
that two top teams.
Yeah, I imagine you must scrim both of those guys pretty often as well. And I remember talking to some other players like Sam who said that they see that you guys take some things from some of these top teams that you scrim against. What are some things that you guys, take from Ghost or Space Station and try to implement on your own team?
Versus with Ghost, we try to play in more aggressive in early. We try to like stop farming. For example, Parirom and run you stop farming and go play aggressive. Go play in the back camp. Go in base.
Sure.
Go play with Jarkor. Make something happen in the map in the earlys. But yeah, we're still like improving in that, and we're gonna still try to improve in the early game. I think is our
Sure.
biggest issue.
Sure. So one thing I noticed, especially with, especially looking closely into some of the losses, is it seems that when you lose, it seems that teams like to ban your God pool out. Is there something to be said for that? When a team bans Persephone and Hebo and Merlin, or even picks up the Hebo for themselves, do you feel like your team is kind of susceptible to getting your God pool banned out?
Yeah, sometimes I start to like pick my picks always in the three first pick because
Sure.
they're always like Bam Todd, Melee or something. But I think the Persephone and Hebo bands are more like OP gods. I
Okay.
know how to play it, but I don't think so it's only like for me. It's because they're pretty good and they're pretty broken right now.
Yeah. So when some of these meta picks are banned out, do you feel comfortable? I think you played Thoth a lot when teams look to ban you out. Is that maybe one of your comfort picks?
Yeah, I usually can play wherever. I can play Todd, I can play Merlin. The thing with Merlin is so bad in early. That's why
Sure.
I don't like to like play Merlin versus Ghost and all that team. But yeah, it's a pretty good pick. But for example, if Persephone or Hebo is open, I'm gonna pick it right away. So yeah.
I see. Okay. Do you try to use the fact that other teams may try to target ban you specifically to get other picks in other roles? Like if you guys know they're gonna ban Persephone and Merlin and Hebo and those sorts of things against you specifically, is that some of the calculus that goes into getting good picks for either Yarkor or Panatome or Rongu or your other teammates?
Yeah, for sure. That's a big thing because we always talk about the games and we always like think about what they're gonna ban, what they're gonna do, and if they ban, for example, they always ban Yemoya versus us. They always
Yeah,
want like Persephone or something like that. But yeah, for example, we can pick Rama, we can pick Arthur, we can pick some Cthulhu for Yarkor. So yeah, we always like play around that, and we play all the week around that. For example, if I know they're gonna ban Persephone and Hebo. I don't gonna play the two gods in the week. I'm gonna like try to
sure.
practice other gods and all that stuff.
Yeah, I understand. So, a couple more things about Phase 2. I know that Oxy, your coach, recently came to the house and is now in Atlanta with you guys. Can you maybe talk about the impact that has, been for you guys since he's moved in?
Yeah, I think that it's a big difference to have the coach here because he see a lot of things. He can like tell to us. He see the comms. He see everything, and he always like be with that with saying like you need to build this, you need to pick this, you need to like, and we're all talking, and that's pretty good to like have all six here in the house to like watch some games, scream, talk, and yeah, hang out and all that. Yeah,
Sure, sure. Is there something specific maybe you could point to that he has influenced in the team since he's come?
I think in a lot of things, in responsibility, in being time on the screen, some picks, don't troll the screen. That's very important to like not troll the screen because sometimes we troll a lot.
Sure, sure.
Uh, yeah, picks and ban. I think we are so much better now because Oxy is here. So yeah, I think his picks and bans are really good to us with Oxy here.
Yeah, yeah. You mentioned a little bit of maybe trolling scrims. And, early on in the phase, there was some talk of Sanguine maybe being late to scrims and things like that. I remember I talked to Rongyu, and he said you guys have a new system. How's the new system working out?
Yeah, in the first phase, it was, to be honest, it was only me. I always wake up so late for a scream. It was all on me. But yeah, I tried to I fix that too because I now I'm wake up in at 7 a.m. So yeah, that shit is not happening anymore. So
Sure, sure. Rangyu mentioned that you guys had like this new system with like a whiteboard and everyone has to be in the living room an hour before scrims and things like that. Is that still going on, that new system? Has that been continuing?
no, that's it. It's gone. It's gone.
How long
Yeah,
how long did that last?
they last like 2 weeks. I think 3 weeks. I think goner.
Did it help at all a little bit for those 2 or 3 weeks or?
Yeah, because at that time the schedule was very good too. My schedule is probably fucked it up right now
Sure,
because
sure.
yesterday was the Oxy birthday, so
Mm.
yeah, we all went to bed so late. So
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah. Okay. Um, I think also I feel like a lot of teams maybe are taking it a little bit easier as the phase winds down. They're maybe saving some things for Worlds. Is that something that you guys are doing? Are you trying to maybe hide some things from your SPL opponents in these last weeks
no,
of the phase?
no, I think we have like 3 months. I think until War, right, in this
Sure.
January.
Yeah.
So it's gonna be like 3 patch or something like that. So yeah, we're not like hiding anything. We're like playing the game and trying to win like always.
Sure. You don't think there will be or you think there'll be enough changes in those? I think it'll only be 2 patches that will come before Worlds is played. Is there going to be enough changes that it's not worth?
I mean, I think there's gonna be a new ADC or something like that, right?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure at all, to be honest.
Yeah, yeah, but I think they always like do a big patch after. I mean, before walls. So yeah, we need to wait. I think.
Sure, sure. I also know that I think qualifiers ends around December, and a lot of players feel that there's quite a bit of time between the end of Worlds qualifiers and the start of Worlds, which happens like the first or second
1
week
month.
in January. Yeah, 1 month time. Are you guys concerned about that time off? Is that maybe getting rusty or losing some motivation in that 1 month time where there's not really anything going on, or you think that Worlds is a big enough draw to you guys that will keep you focused?
Yeah, I think that is the thing. For example, the team win playoff. I don't think so. It's gonna like win war or something like that because it's 1 month. I
Yeah,
mean, I think the team is gonna win world is the team he prepared well in that bond. He screamed a lot in that bond, and he be prepared to world because yeah, it's 1 month of difference playoff to worlds.
yeah. Are you guys concerned about losing focus in that month?
Now, if we still screaming, still serious and still playing the game a lot, we're not concerned about that.
Sure, sure. All right, so I do have to ask you, what are the team's sort of expectations going into Phase 2 playoffs? And I imagine, given your standings in Phase 1 and this phase, you probably won't have to go through the World's qualifiers, right?
I don't know. I think if we place one or second, I think we are secure for world.
Okay, in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Okay, okay. So yeah, how do you guys feel about playoffs? Do you guys think that first or second is an achievable result for you guys, or are there some teams that are particularly worrisome for you looking towards playoffs?
I mean, if you wanna win playoff, if you wanna win world, you need to win to all the teams. So I don't know if you I need to play first round with versus goals. I don't care. I'm gonna play because if you wanna be the best in the world, you need to win to all the teams.
Sure, sure.
But yeah, we're confident that we know we can win if we are on the same page and we're playing well the game. So yeah, we're gonna try.
Yeah, of course. Want to move on maybe to talking a little bit about your prior Smite career. And I'm sure a lot of people will know that this Sanguine team played with Haddix at Worlds in Season 5, but I'm not sure how many people remember that you were on a LATAM team that made it to Worlds, I believe earlier in Season 3. You were playing solo laner.
Yeah,
Can you talk about that experience, that Worlds experience in Season 3 a little bit?
that world experience was the best experience I experienced in my life. It
Yeah.
was it was the best thing in my life. I remember it was in Covenary. I was like 17 years old, something like that. It
Hmm.
was the first time I flew to United States. It was a really really high moment, and I remember I said to me like I wanna be like this big guy. I wanna win worlds. I wanna be the best in the world. And yeah, I'm here now. I too.
How was that team? Like, how did you get to be a part of that team? And can you talk about your guys' run to Worlds a little bit?
Yeah, my team was Ron, you, me, and three other guys. One from Argentina and the other guy from North. But yeah, that was like the the best team from Latin America. I'm sorry.
Hmm.
And yeah, we're like playing each other. I remember we're all friends. We make a team, and yeah, we qualify.
Sure. Do you have any maybe like starstruck moments when you saw some of these other SPL players? I think that was one of the first worlds that I was really into, and I remember watching Zap there because it had been, I think, a long time since he had been to an international tournament and things like that. Are there some players that you sort of looked up to that you were able to meet finally at that season 3 worlds?
I mean, all the players, all the good players, was adapting with energy. I think was
Yeah,
the best
yeah.
team in the world. Was I don't know, was Sabma, was team from EU, a lot. I was like, wow, where am I? I was
Sure.
like, yeah, so fanboy in that moment.
All right, I'm sort of coming up on the end here, and so one question I really love to ask all the players is, and who are some mentors that you might have had in your SPL career so far? And if you don't really have any mentors, or even if you do, who are also maybe some rivals that you've had from LATAM or even now in the SPL?
Mentor, I mean, all the guys, but I mean, I remember back in the day when I was playing solo, it was Dead Walker a lot.
Hmm.
And now in mid, I watch a lot. I watch a lot. I don't know, Big Man sometimes, Dardes. Yeah, I watch a lot of the guys. And rival, I don't know. With Max, I wanna win Max. I wanna win Pandakan in Worlds because he beat me last time. I need to like beat him now.
Sure, sure.
But
What?
yeah, it's like more like friendly.
Yeah, yeah, of course. What about in LATAM? Were there any players in the LATAM scene that helped you on your journey at all?
I mean, back in the day, yeah, it was a lot. It was one, I think, was Belway
Hmm.
when I was solo. Yeah, it
Yeah,
was a big rivalry versus him. It was really good and really intense the lane. But we were, I'm friendly. I'm not like rival with people and all
sure.
that. I'm trying to be friendly with all the people because back in the day we playing a game. We are in the same page. We are all humans, and why you wanna hate?
Yeah, of course. Of course. Well, I'm going to ask you now to maybe hate on some people because at the end of these interviews, I always like to ask, who are you beefing with? Who is it in your scribs? Who are you trying to call out? And finally, of course, feel free to shout out anyone you want to shout out. And then, I always also like to give the players the ability to just speak whatever they want to speak. So the soapbox is yours now, Sheento.
Okay.
Who's been your crosshairs?
In my cross is Panda Cat. You already know Panda Cat. I'm gonna crush that fucking little guy.
Okay.
And yeah, shout out to all the people from United States, from all the world. They are with us. They are playing with us. And yeah, can I speak something in Spanish?
Yeah, go for it.
Muchas gracias a toda la gente de LATAM, muchas gracias a toda la gente que nos ha estado apoyando, la gente de habla hispana, de España, de Latinoamérica. Muchas gracias a todos por los que siempre están ahí con nosotros apoyándonos. Vamos a intentar dejar a LATAM en lo más alto, vamos a intentar ganar World, vamos a demostrar a toda esa gente que dice que LATAM no vale, que LATAM no es igual a todas las otras regiones. Y sí, muchas gracias a todos y espero les haya encantado esta interview con Apam.
Well, thanks a lot for coming on as well. I really appreciate it. You know, it's always great to have not just you, but any SPL player come on. And I wish you guys the best of luck in Worlds, in playoffs, in qualifiers, in all the rest of your games, and even next season in the SPL. So thanks a lot for coming on.
No, thank you, Apam, for the invite. I really appreciate it.
Awesome.
It was
man.
a fun time.
All right, let's move on to the next set of the week, which is PK versus Eunited. And again, another set which I think I was hoping PK would win, but you guys had other plans for it, and United really take this one 2-0, you know, evenly matched, I think, even though it was a 2-0. And I think we have to start talking about the set mid, because Herwin picked it up. I don't think I would have ever thought Herwin would play set mid ever, but I guess that's the call game too. Where did that come from, Cardiac?
I mean, it's something we had been practicing. I think a lot of teams have been started playing set a little bit more in various roles.
Mm-hmm.
And also, I mean, it was just kind of to take it away from Paul in a sense. Like I was mentioning earlier, Paul gets targeted really heavily in drafts, and if you're able to take away some of his top picks, I think his effectiveness goes down significantly.
Sure.
Which is why you see teams do that. So I mean, we took away the Hell, and then we picked the Hebo and set, and and then he didn't pick top 3, so we banned away Thoth, and so he defaults to Uller, which we were fine with. I mean, it was a little rough because, like I said, Paul picks for the 1v1 in mid essentially, and so he built like Warrior's Blessing on Uller, to, like try and counter out the set mid, and it was it did have a pretty good laning phase, but I think once it came to fights, like
yeah,
it just didn't do as much as he had hoped, I guess. But I mean, we had just looked at how PK was playing recently, and how their drafts as well as their like play style, and that's why kind of we were picking in the way we were.
Sure.
Yeah, I think game 2 was really smart to drop by United, but I also think the drop by PK game 2 was pretty terrible. Like it felt again like they were forcing double hunter, and then what they had like Kuzenber and Cthulhu maybe again as your magical damage. I just don't think it's too easy to counter build as like a solo laner or even a jungle. Like even jungles, you just build Void Shield or whatever. It's like it's too easy to counter those kind of drafts. I feel like you need some magical damage from somewhere, like in your carries. But I can't really remember game 1, but this is a set that really surprised me. I just think based on form, because obviously they said on stream it was played previously and then streamed later.
Yeah.
But I think when the result happened, I was like, well, like okay, because I think PK felt like they were maybe coming to form and United was slumping a little bit, but then I guess this set kind of turned things around for United.
Sure.
Yeah, I think it was played like a week before it was streamed or something. But yeah, the first game we were going for more of like a sustained comp. Like we took away the Hell, and then we picked the Raw ourselves.
Yeah.
And then it was kind of rough. Like we weren't playing the fights as patiently as I would have wanted to. Like Scream was kind of like having a tough game, and like we weren't really on the same page as much. But I don't know if PK weren't like particularly playing that well either. I felt like so we kind of not necessarily got away with one because I think we played well, but I think the games were pretty good for us. And then yeah, in the game 2, like I said, like we kind of just it was what we had kind of drafted going into it, and we just kind of went like almost full dive in a sense. Like we had
Yeah.
the Cherno, the Wukong,
Mm-hmm.
the set, and we're just like just gonna get in there.
Gonna get
And
in.
it was kind of and their comp really could not deal with like just going all in on them because they just run off and we just chase them down basically.
Sure. Leremy, how about you? Any thoughts about this set?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of just have to agree with what's already been said. Like PK's draft straight up just got counter drafted. Everything that they had just could not deal with the amount of dive that was drafted by United. Like normally you'd think that they would be the ones to be diving, but when you've got a set and a Hubwa and like you said, Cherno Wukong, like you just can't really deal with that kind of aggression. And like you would think that the Uller and the Zods and the Ram would like be able to self peel for themselves, but they just like straight up don't have enough options when it comes to that. Like the whole reason you see Rom getting picked up a lot is because he can just kind of like participate in fights when he's far away, but when he gets up close and he's forced up into the ult, he's just kind of like a sitting duck for the most part. And if you throw one or two members like straight at him when he's in the ultimate, you just die when you come down. There's not a whole lot of options after that.
Sure. All right. Let's move on to the next set of the week, which was Ghost versus Sanguine. And again, Ghost just showing that I think they're the top seed in the league for a reason. They take this one pretty quickly, if I recall correctly, and in both games sort of snowballed early leads to get victory pretty soon. I believe game 2 was over in like 22 minutes, right?
It was fast,
think
whatever it was.
I think that was game 1 maybe. I think game 2 like got drawn out a little bit. Like Sanguine defended a couple Phoenix sieges.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of the time Sam and Panatom were kind of like 1v1ing in late game, and Sam got the better of him like almost every time.
Yeah.
Again,
Yeah.
I think just Ghost has been playing like super well. I think maybe both teams were a little bit. I think they scrim each other a lot, which is why you saw the drafts like shape out the way they did.
Sure. I did want to mention we saw Afro in the solo lane from Yarkor. Is that something that you expect to see from other solo laners? Maybe bringing some other mages? I know Leremy brought up Nox getting buffed. Maybe we'll see Nox in the solo lane as well. What are you guys' thoughts on Afro from Yarkor or Afro in the solo lane in general?
Well, you probably won't see us play it, but it's just a strange. It's just one of those things that Yarko has as a pocket pick. Like I'm pretty sure he was practicing a lost split, probably practicing at this split. I think he played a lost split as well, maybe a game or two. It's just one of those things. I'm not sure why now he chooses to play it and to King Arthur, but I mean, it's kind of maybe they're just experimenting again. And I think the bigger thing for me this set was that it shows me that I think Ghost is kind of the team to beat right now, because Sanguine felt to me like the other team that was in really good form. And for Ghost to beat SSG and Sanguine in the same week, pretty dominantly, for was kind of okay. These guys are like they're in form and they're the team to beat. Kind of running into finals.
Yeah. Cardiac, you're about to say something?
Yeah. I mean, I think they were just trying to draft sustain from somewhere. I think in game 2, Ghost like banned out the Hell bottom as well, so maybe they were just worried about like him picking Afro and Hell, just playing some like type of sustain god out of the solo lane. Yeah, I think Ghost. I mean, I think game 1 was pretty handily won. Once you get behind on the Tsukiyomi and the Afro, they can just kind of. They also had Ymir. I think Ymir was a really strong last pick for them. Had good matchups.
Yeah, no leaps on the other team except for the Cerberus.
And they're still. I mean, they're still picking this Anubis and not really been getting punished. I think they're either undefeated or have only lost once on it or something. So
yeah. Is that something you expect to see in the future? Teams maybe looking to punish the Anubis pickup?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, in theory, like Anubis is a really strong character, but in practice, I feel like more often than not, he does get shut down. But this kind of goes back to what I was saying with maybe Baron. Like, Ghost just kind of know how to play around that character, and like Twig knows like the limits of that character as well. So I
I would
mean,
be really surprised to see them pick the Anubis again, like in playoffs at least. Like I feel like if you're picking a character like Anubis, like Baron, you're kind of also leaning into that sort of surprise factor where you haven't really played this character very much, you haven't played against it very much. Especially more so of those like casual oriented characters, like you won't necessarily know exactly what to expect in a lot of the fights. And that's not to say you can't be prepared for it or like, come up with a strategy on the fly, but like, I don't know, just doing something unexpected is kind of Twig's thing. He's like constantly like buying Blink in the early game and things of that nature to try and just catch people off guard. And, it just works for them sometimes because they have the support system to kind of back him up and let him do what he needs to do.
Sure.
Yeah, I don't think. I actually think that is probably a pick that they maybe not Anubis so much. Maybe he'll stick to like Poseidon, Hebo kind of thing. But I don't think he's worried about playing Anubis in finals or like in the LAN games. I feel like that's kind of the way Ghosts want to play. They want Twig on something that does damage and does damage quick, or something that they can kind of play around. And the way that Mike and Sam play the map is they just put pressure on kind of on the whole enemy jungle, and then Twig's kind of okay. They just create so much space for Twig that then he can come in and kind of be those guards. I feel like when we played them in the finals last split, they were playing Nuwa, and it's one thing to say, oh, why don't you punish these picks, but Ghosts don't let you punish those picks, right, when they're playing well. We were in picks and bans saying, why can't we just kill this Nuwa? But it's like we have a Hercules and like an Erlang Shen at our back camps, right? So you can't just funnel into mid and kill it, and so we just ended up banning it. Which made things a lot easier. So I think that's just the style they want to play, and it's working for them. And so I think it's kind of scary in a way that if he's going to play these off-meta picks and be able to get away with it, it kind of can make things awkward in drafting, because you're like, okay, do we want to ban one of like Twig's picks, or do we ban the pressure picks? It just kind of creates like a dynamic where you don't really want. It's like when you play against PK, you have to ban like 2 or 3 mages. It's not really a fun way to draft. So yeah.
All right, last set of the week was Radiance versus SSG, and I know I surely didn't think that Radiance would 2-0 this. Maybe 2-1, but pretty impressive win from the Radiance boys this week, being able to 2-0 SSG. I know maybe there was a bit of trolling on the Space Station side with the on her jungle in game 1. But to be honest, I feel like I've seen Cheerio play on her jungle enough that I kind of trust him to, maybe do it in the SPL. So I'm going to say this was a great win from Radiance. Let's start with you, Biggy. How's the team thinking about this set? And what are some things that you saw that really stuck out to you?
I mean, I was kind of in shock when we first picked Ram and then they locked Hercules. It was a bit confusing. I didn't really prepare for that.
Sure.
But I don't know if they were kind of just trolling a bit, or like genuinely had that as a strategy. It's not something I've ever seen them do before to a team, or like expected. But I feel like we played really well. We played well as a team. They were fairly clean games. I felt like game 1 we just had to not lose early, and we were so confident that we would just never lose like to that kind of comp if we didn't get run over, and we did a good job doing that. I think game 2 they kind of went back to what they were playing, but again, I just think I have a terrible memory, but I think we were just playing like a lot better than usual, and I think again they maybe weren't playing as well as they had been previously.
Sure. Just to maybe jog your memory on game 2, I seem to recall a lot of Cabrakan ults and the Poseidon ults doing a lot of damage and wombo comboing a bunch of people in game 2.
Yeah, I think Kenna also had a better set. That set, he felt a lot more comfortable like on his picks playing against what he was playing against. And yeah, Aurora definitely played well. I can't remember I think he played Cabrakan
both games.
Yeah. Game 2, he definitely won the game in the last team fight. I think he like did like 3k damage or something in the last team fight. So just a lot of like. I think the thing for us mainly is when we were slumping, I felt like we weren't playing great as a team, but I also felt a lot of the individual performances were pretty average. But now I feel like people are really starting to kind of find their form like individually, which is helping a lot for us.
Sure. Cardiac, Lermy, any initial thoughts about this set, Radiance versus Space Station Gaming?
Yeah, I thought it was interesting that Raptor played Herc. It might have been the first or second time he's played it this whole year.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, obviously it was to take it away.
Yeah,
but
definitely.
I don't think he had a bad performance on it. I think he actually played pretty well. But yeah, the on her jungle, I don't know. Like I know Cherry's been playing it on stream, and maybe he's been playing it in scrims or whatever. But they obviously they're obviously like locked top 2 or top 3, whatever it is. But maybe they were just trying to pull something out and put a hunter damage in another role if Cherry was comfortable on it. But yeah, it just didn't work out. And yeah, I think you guys like first blooded the Merlin pretty early on, which got the Nemesis rolling, which is always good. And yeah, I think Aurora, the Cabrakan pick was really good. Aurora played really well this set.
Just to follow up on her real quick, I was able to catch Cherry's stream this morning, and he said that it was supposed to be a flex between into mid, but then I think they decided they wanted a different mid pick, and he sort of reluctantly took it into the jungle. I mean, I don't know. Usually, if you have to reluctantly take a god, that means that the pick and bans didn't go the way you wanted them to go. Yeah. So, maybe it was just being having a little bit of hubris or something like that.
Yeah, and I agree. I think Rafa did play well. I think he ran the lane and he ran the early game and he did what he was supposed to do. I felt like late game. There's just no way like Benji was ever gonna die. I don't feel like against that backline. He was kind of having he was having a lot of fun getting in that.
Yeah, I can imagine it. Just like I just am so confused by the game 1 draft. Honestly, like I don't see how you ever put yourself in that position. Honestly, where you're flexing something that you're 4th picking and you already have 3 physical. It just seems like. I understand like the thought process of trying to put on her in this comp, but at the same time, I'm genuinely a little lost about that.
Let's get on to the picks for Week 14. This is the last week of SPL games in Phase 2 before the playoffs and qualifiers and Worlds. So we're really getting down to the, the important matches, so to speak. Let's start with Renegades versus United, and since we have Cardiac here, let's start with you, Cardiac. Who you got in Renegades versus United?
I'm pretty confident that we're going to take that set 2-0.
2-0? All right, then. 2-0 from Cardiac. Biggy, how about you? Renegades versus United. I think this is the set that determines who gets 6th place, if I'm not mistaken. Is that right, Cardiac?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay. Biggy, what's your prediction here?
I think United. I think leaning towards the United 2-0. If maybe 2-1, possibly Renegades take a game if they have like something up their sleeve or maybe Lasper pops off. I think it's just for me it depends on kind of how Lasper plays and if he can kind of run the early game. And if Renegades get momentum, I think they can win a game. But if it's kind of even games or United gets ahead, then I think United will just win. They seem in better form, like kind of on the rise, and Renegades seem to be plateauing a bit or like slumping. So
sure. 2-0, 2-1 United. What you got?
I think 2-0 United.
2-0 United. All right, Lermy, how about you? Renegades versus United.
I'm pretty confident about United winning this set, but I'm not so sure about as if they do it 2-0 or not. I think this is incredibly important for Renegades, and this is, as was already mentioned, like their last chance to really make something happen. So it's either backs against the wall, they crumble, or they pop off one game. But I don't think that they have it in them to win both of them. So honestly, I will expect a 2-0, but I could see a 2-1.
Sure. So 2-0 from United for you?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'm also in the same boat. This is probably going to be an United sweep from everyone here on the panel, especially considering how good they looked in the sort of the past matches we were able to see last week. So I'm going to give it to United 2-0 as well. I guess that means we're going to be seeing you boys in the playoffs, so congratulations. Cardiac.
I hope so, yeah.
All right,
Couldn't
let's
make
go.
it last phase, so.
Yeah. let's go on to the next set of Week 14, which is PK versus Obey. Biggy, I think I'm going to start with you on this one. PK versus Obey, who do you got?
I think PK2 I think if PK draft properly, which there's no reason they shouldn't be able to, they've seen exactly what Obey want to do. I feel like it's really obvious now how they want to draft the kind of their top picks in each role to play that style. And PK, I think, is just a better team. I kind of expect them to find some form this week. I think they play Renegades as well. So I think it should be a good week for them to find some form going into finals. But PK2, I just think it should be too easy for them to draft against Obey, in my opinion.
All right. Lermy, how about you? PK versus Obey.
In the same boat. I think that Obey has found their strategy that can work, but like Biggy said, it's incredibly obvious what they want to do. There really kind of isn't an excuse unless Obey suddenly change everything, and it is going to be a new patch, so or rather not this time. Probably in the playoffs it is, but missing that point. It's probably just going to be a 2-0 from PK. I don't really see any way that it could change.
Sure. All right, Cardiac, on to you. PK versus Obey. Who do you think's going to win?
I do think PK is going to take this. If Obey keep the same style, I don't see them really catching anyone off guard as they did. I mean, they can get off to a good start, and then if their comp is really based around just taking objectives, and if they're able to catch a fire giant, win a team fight, then yeah, they could take a game. So I'll say 1-2 or 2-1, I guess, to PK. But yeah.
All right.
I don't think Obey will able to take 2 games off them.
Sure. As a resident PK fanboy on this show, I got to show love to my boys here. So PK 2-0, we got to get some wins, get into the playoffs, and keep that morale high. So let's go PK. All right, moving on to the next set of Week 14, which is Ghosts versus Radiance. Lermy, I think we're going to start with you on this one. Ghosts versus Radiance. Who do you think's going to win?
This is really tough to say, right? Because I feel like Ghosts have really found their form. They're in a very good spot momentum-wise, but I also think that Radiance has the tools to be able to dismantle them should they get to a point where, they're playing their game a little bit better. And also, Ghost kind of has that troll energy to an extent.
Right.
It's really, really tough to say because I think it could go either way. I think I'm going to narrowly give it to Ghost 2-1, but like I said, honestly, it's 50-50 for me.
Sure. Cardiac, how about you? Ghost versus Radiance.
I'm not sure what type of motivation or preparation Ghost is going to have going into this game, just considering they're already locked
Yep.
Locked in at first seed. I mean, I'm sure they're going to be taking the game seriously, but I don't know how much time they're gonna have prepared for this. That being said, I do think Ghost have been looking very strong, but Radiance also has been looking really strong in the past weeks. So I'll say, I think it's gonna be a 3-game set. I'll say Radiance 2-1.
All right, Radiance 2-1 from Cardiac.
Yeah.
Biggy, how about yourself? Ghost versus Radiance. I'm sure this is a Radiance 2-0 from you.
Obviously, I think they definitely look the team that's better in form. But yeah, like I said, I think this week for me is just a gauge going into playoffs, right? Like how good are we right now? Kind of. We found some form against SSG, I guess, and then how good are we against kind of the best team at the moment?
Right.
So for me, it's just like a gauge of form. I think there's a chance we can finish third, but I think Sanguine would have to lose to Obey for that to happen, which is kind of unlikely. So I don't think there's a whole lot on the line this set yet, like Cardiac said.
Sure. Radiance 2-0 from you?
Of course.
All right, let's move on to the next set of the week, which is Sanguine versus Obey, like Biggy mentioned. Let's start with you, Cardiac. Sanguine versus Obey, who you got?
I think it's Sanguine 2-0. I think they play the map too well to allow Obey to do what they want to do. I mean, this is all just saying that Obey stick to the same style. They might have been trying something new, but overall, I think Sanguine are the better team, and I think that Sanguine play the map really well, and they play the team fights very well, and I think it'll just be a pretty clean 2-0.
Sure. Biggy, how about you? Sanguine versus Obey.
Yeah, I think Sanguine will win 2-0. I just think for them, if they win their third seed, and I think they'd probably rather play. I mean, I don't know. Actually, I think they'd probably rather play Renegades or United than going against PK,
Mhm.
just because I think PK maybe potentially has a pretty good matchup against them.
Sure.
Sometimes I played them, but yeah, I just think Sanguine, even though they lost to Ghost the way they did, they're just too good right now compared to Obey. But then again, I think the way that Obey plays against PK will probably also show a lot towards the way they play against Sanguine. Like if Obey come out and they
Yeah.
beat PK, then it's probably a whole different story, right? But Sanguine, right now, Sanguine 2-0.
Sure. All right, let me wrap it up for us here. Sanguine versus Obey.
I'm in the same boat. I think it's almost certainly going to be a 2-0 from Sanguine, kind of just bouncing off the points that the other guys have said. It's been just like Sanguine are, again, kind of getting very close to that final form. I do think that they kind of had a little slip up in the past week of them, kind of falling off a little bit, but even still, they're just very, very good at team fighting. I don't think that they would allow Obey to kind of play the style that they want to, and as we mentioned before, it's like, if they can't get every single thing that they want from Obey's play style, then it just does not work.
Sure.
And I think, as mentioned, Sanguine just will not let that happen. So 2-0 for Sanguine.
All right. Yeah, this one, I really agree with what Biggy said here. If Obey are able to win against PK, it's going to really shake some things up, especially towards the bottom. PK may even lose some ground in terms of playoffs and things like that. I'm not sure. Mentality-wise, that could do really well for the Obey boys. It's hard to see that happening, though. So I think I'm going to give it to Sanguine 2-0 as well. All right, let's move on to the next game of the week, which is PK versus Renegades. I think, Biggy, we have to start with you on this one. PK versus Renegades. Who you got?
I mean, I think PK, again, will just be too good. Renegades, just for me, don't seem that strong right now. Maybe there's potential for an upset. I think sometimes Renegades, when the games go long, PK do tend to sometimes struggle. But
Sure.
I would say, I'm just going to say PK 2-0. I just think based on form and just kind of, I think PK will maybe kick it up a bit this week and get some form back and kind of really focus on playing a lot better.
Sure. All right. 2-0 from PK for you?
Yep.
How about you? PK versus RNG.
I think if Renegades don't win their set on Friday, then there's no real chance. I think that, unfortunately, if they do take that L, their motivation is just going to be gone. Morale is in the toilet, as one might say. And they're just honestly going to fold under the pressure, I feel like, if that happens. But in a world where that doesn't happen, which, I mean, all of us did not expect that. So, I mean, in the slight chance that it does happen, it could work for them. They could find a game or even the set win. But realistically, compared with the rest of our expectations as well, I think it's going to be a PK 2-0.
PK 2-0 for Lermy. Let's finish it off with you here, Cardiac. PK versus Renegades.
I'll go PK 2-1. I think Renegades do have the potential to take a game off them. But yeah, I just don't see them completely winning the set here. And yeah, especially it does really depend on how our matchup goes with them because yeah, I mean, like you said, their motivation might drop if they lose that, or they might be riding high if they win. But I still believe that regardless of that result, I think PK will win this one 2-1.
Sure. I'm going to go for PK. I think it's going to be PK 2-1. So I think there is a bit of maybe like an older brother, younger brother relationship between Cuvo and Lasbra, and Cuvo just not going to let young Lassie win against him, right? So it's got to be PK that take the victory. All right, last game of Phase 2 of SPL Season 7 is coming up. This is SSG versus Eunited. LeremyWermy, let's start with you here. SSG versus Eunited. Who you got?
I mean, last week SSG kind of had a little slip up. Their drafts weren't amazing. But in general, I still think that they are kind of a strong step above United in terms of just how they've been playing and things of that nature. So I think I'm expecting a 2-0 from Space Station, but United has always been one to kind of surprise and take games off the top too. So I could see a world where it's a 2-1, but I think it's going to be 2-0 SSG.
Sure. Cardiac, how about you? SSG versus United.
Yeah, I think this game, I'm not sure what to expect in this game because I don't know how serious Space Station's going to be taking this one. Some of their picks last week kind of indicated that they might be trying some stuff going towards playoffs. And yeah, obviously, in terms of seeding, this match doesn't matter. But I'm going to go with our boys and say we're going to win 2-0.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
All right, Biggie. Wrap us up here. Space Station Gaming versus Eunited.
I think this set is kind of like a sleeper for the week. I think a lot of people going into the week kind of look at Renegades and United and us versus Ghost as like big games, but I think this has potential to be like a really exciting set for viewers. I feel, based on SSG's kind of performance this past week and the way that United's playing, I actually think it could kind of just come down to like the coin toss almost, like the drafts, kind of the way you can ban based on which side you get against SSG. So
yeah,
I am going to go United 2-1 just because I'm a fan of the wind.
Sure.
Let's go.
Yeah, I kind of feel like SSG maybe are, how like NFL teams sort of like they take the last couple weeks off because it's a grueling season. I feel like this was probably a grueling phase, not just for SSG but for all the teams, and they've realized that they probably don't gain too much from these wins, this late on, and maybe it's just better to keep the mental good. So I kind of feel like they might slip up a little bit, and I think I'm going to give this win to United as well. I think it'll be a 2-1 win for United. And that brings us to the end of Phase 2, Season 7 SPL. So the only thing that's left, I guess, is, playoffs and qualifiers. Thanks for watching the SPL Rundown this week. Be sure to catch us every week during the phase. And, we're still working out what we're going to do for playoffs and qualifiers and worlds. But we will have some episodes about those tournaments in the future that hopefully will be on Smite Game. If you have any thoughts about future guests, please be sure to DM me at Apam2 or at Apam Productions on Twitter. And, as always, extended cuts of my discussion with analysts and my player interviews are available on our YouTube, which is Apam Productions on YouTube. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys soon.